wounded child, because now, built for children. You know that they're leading to lives, give the context of this.
Hello. This is Joe the Bull podcast. This is the takeover with Nicole C. Loves Recovery and also Miss Amber, Unfiltered Sober Mom 22. Thank you so much for being here, Miss Amber.
Absolutely.
We're so happy to have you for the third time. So we are going to get deep into the actual active addiction part. So this can sometimes be triggering and also very sensitive topic, but it's definitely part of the road to recovery necessity. So that's what we're going to get into. So I have many stories of active addiction. Some are good stories, like funny stories. Some are sad stories.
Yeah.
Some are criminal stories. But, you know, that's just what you face in active addiction. You face everything.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So
you just pick a category. What do you want to know about me? Just pick from here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. So you were in active addiction for how long?
Really from the time, let's see, I was 20, I would say it was probably about 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years, pretty hardcore into drinking, where I just really, you know, instead of just it being something fun and social for me, it turned into the numbing and the running of myself, running away from myself, and really became emotionally dependent on drinking. So for about, I'd say about 10, it could be a little longer than 10 years, but I'd say a good 10 years at least.
10 years. Yeah. I mean, I would say I was probably in active addiction 10 years, but like 5 years in the real deep of addiction. I went to the bottom of the pit. I mean, alcohol is horrible, but I mean, I think I saw the devil in active addiction.
Well, he was definitely in the midst of it.
Right. So, what was your alcohol choice? What was the drink that you liked?
Honestly, it really didn't matter. I loved wine. And honestly, it just, when I was in that mindset that I was going to get messed up and I just wanted to drink to be numb, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been something I hated. As long as it did the job and made me feel drunk and away from my feelings, then it really didn't matter.
Have like a preference. Like,
no, there was no preference.
Okay. So
literally no preference. Just alcohol in general. I could drink anything, and then it didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So I look back at this story and it's a funny story now, but at the time it wasn't funny. And I actually, to this day, still have a reminder of it. I have a cauliflower ear that I got during active addiction. I wasn't born with a cauliflower ear. If you guys don't know what a cauliflower ear, it happens to a lot of boxers, from being beat up pretty badly to their head. And that's what happened. I was at a house where active use was being used. And I looked at someone the wrong way and they didn't like it. And they literally grabbed me up and started dragging me and punching me as we went out the house. And she wanted me gone. Like, she was like, and it's weird because I don't remember exactly while I was in the moment, like doing active addiction. I just know that like the aftermath of like what happened. Like now I have this reminder of this cauliflower ear, but I'm also grateful for it.
Right.
Because I don't ever want this to happen again. Like, I don't want to be in a house where active addiction is happening.
Right.
And I'll get put because I looked at someone the wrong way. Like, I don't want that anymore. So do you have like a similar story? Did you ever like get in like a physical altercation with someone during active addiction?
I don't think I ever got into a physical altercation. But then again, I mean, honestly, I've really never sat and thought about it. It could be possible. I didn't really black out a whole lot. Okay. The worst for me was my second DUI, where I woke up and I was just sitting in my car wrecked. Like, I put myself to bed, woke up, and I'm like, how did I even get here? That's really the only thing that
you've gotten some DUIs.
Yes, I've got 3. Driving. Yes, I've gotten 3. If I drink, I break out in handcuffs. So,
Okay, so in these three situations,
Mhm.
how was your day? Like, how did you get them? Like, of course you were driving, but like,
right.
why were you on the road? Like,
See, that's what I don't
where were you
remember for my
coming
second
from?
one. My first one was back in 2013, and I had been out and about in downtown Savannah with some friends, and I had actually been taking people back and forth from downtown Savannah back to their houses. Then I get
Okay,
back, start drinking again, and I go to leave, and it was just a matter of the right time, I guess. I didn't turn my headlights on fast enough, got pulled
yeah.
over, immediately was like, "You been drinking?" Yep, sure have.
Yeah, the thing I remember about alcohol is if you're an active drinker, is that you can smell it. Like
Yeah.
it's in their pores.
I used to think that you couldn't smell that shit, and I'd be like, "Oh, I haven't been drinking today. I've been drinking all day, hanging out." And then, like now that I've been sober for a little over a year, if a beer's even
Which
around me,
congratulations to that 1 year
yeah,
mark. Let's go. That was January 1st.
yes, January 1st, we hit the full
Let's
year.
go, New Year's
So,
Day.
but like it's now it's kind of funny because I was talking to someone in my recovery group that was like, it's so crazy how we used to believe that you couldn't smell if we'd been drinking, and then
Or you
now,
can see or think
yeah.
that I'm like acting drunk, or you just
Right.
don't
Well, like now
know.
it's just if you open if my sister or anyone around me just pops open a beer, pops up like makes a drink, I can smell it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, why was I smell blind to that? I was completely
right. Like
smell
so
blind to
clueless
all
to
of
what
that
was going
before.
on.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah, I always
crazy.
thought nobody thought I was high in the beginning. And I'm like, there's
Yeah.
no way you know I'm high. There's no way
Right.
you know
We
I just
think that we're not
did a
like
pack
acting
in the
any type of
bathroom.
way. Yeah,
Like
it's
that's
absolutely crazy. I don't think I've ever gotten into a fight. But like, I mean, I've done some risky shit while I've been drunk, whether it
okay.
be
So what?
downtown dancing or, hanging out with the wrong person or just acting a fool. Like, I'm
Right.
pretty sure my first work trip in 2015 with the insurance company and people I was working with doing life insurance, the very first night we got to Key West, I got so drunk, don't remember, and I smacked my boss's wife's ass. My brother
Okay.
walked me to my room, he says, and put me to bed. And I was like, ooh,
Ooh.
I
Did
don't
you
remember
have
that.
repercussions the next day from?
I mean, I just made myself look like a complete ass. No one treated me any differently. They just knew I drank too much. So at that time, everyone knew I was a drinker. Like it wasn't a problem yet.
Yeah.
Like that was really beginning at the beginning stages. 2015 was probably the beginning stages of the real active, where it just got real dark and real heavy, and I just let it consume me. So like, but I mean, I'd act out in ways like, oh no, I do remember this. It was spring break one week, and I had my nieces and nephews. We were over at a friend's house at the pool, just hanging out. I was drinking 80 proof vodka, and then all of a sudden, like I remember sitting by the pool having happy, laughy conversations, and then all of a sudden, I'm like yelling and screaming in the kitchen, saying I wanted to go home, and I have no idea like how that even came about. But what killed me in that moment was looking at my nephew and my son's face of how afraid they were.
Yeah.
That's always going to be a reminder is my kid, like how he looked at me the times that I've been my drunkest. Unfortunately, he's been around it the
Right.
times that I have been super super drunk, and it's like the disappointment and that sadness in his face, like it's I mean, you're a mom, like it's
Right.
hard for
Yeah. It
your
is
kids
hard.
to look
And
at you like
actually,
that.
I have a story that I got in a physical. I have a lot of physical. I have a lot of anger in me. I was very angry, like right before I went into my addiction, and like during my addiction. So, like at the time, I have a younger sister. We're 11 years apart, and at the time, she was very disappointed in me. She used to look up to me, and then
Mhm.
she started seeing the change in me, like
Yeah.
and I was at the time I was still in my kid's life. I hadn't given them up the custody rights to my father yet, but um, we were at my dad's house. I was living there because I just lost my house. I just lost my job. This
Yeah.
was probably 8 months into my addiction, and I was still kind of hiding it. But my
Right.
sister knew because we were like this before
Mhm.
my addiction, and then the breakup with the kid's dad, and then losing my job and losing my house. I just really started, and I was even experiencing with alcohol a little bit, but I was also mixing that with opiates and
Yeah.
other stuff and smoking and doing
Right.
stuff I should have probably not been doing. Anyway, my sister came there one morning. It was really early. The girls, I think, were like 2.5. My youngest was.
Yeah.
She's now 12. And then my other daughter was 7 or 8. Anyway, my sister started saying stuff in front of my kids. I got very defensive,
Mhm.
and I was also very high, and I got in a physical altercation. My sister and I started fighting.
Mhm.
My boyfriend had to pull me off, and my dad was pulling my sister off. And while this was all going on, my kids were there, and they had to see that, see me
Right.
hurting, their aunt, or and I. Well, anyway, so we got broken apart. Well, my sister got away from my father, our father, and she ended up calling the police on me. So
Mm.
then the police show up. And I ended up getting arrested right in front of my children, in front of my father, in front of the community. We lived in a
Yeah.
very, quiet, everyone's goody two shoe,
Right. Right.
lawyers, doctors, nobody makes mistakes. And
Right.
here comes me all high, telling my sister fought, it was just totally not who I was.
Right. Right.
And I was getting arrested, and my kids were crying, and then my kids see me getting put into handcuffs and getting put in the back of a car. And I still to this day, I feel horrible about that. And that's something that they'll have to remember in their child. But of course, now, we have a lot of very good memories now, but
Right.
that was a very good memory. And I was very destructive in my act addiction.
Yeah.
I went down that rabbit hole, and then,
Mhm.
you have maybe not physical, but what destruction?
Mine was more of self-destruction. So like I didn't lose a job to that, and thankfully my path of addiction stopped before I lost family. I hadn't made it to that point yet, but it was damn sure on the way to it.
And I'm
Had
really
it
proud of you,
gone,
because
yeah,
some people don't see the light.
girl,
People go way past where you went, and
yeah,
I am so happy that you
thank
saw
you.
before it got too
Yeah.
bad. I'm not that saying
And,
what
and
you
it
went
was,
through.
that's what I'm saying. Like
It was bad.
I can't imagine it being even worse than how I can't imagine myself feeling worse than how I felt. Cause I mean, I felt like shit. There
Yeah.
was nothing about myself that I liked. I didn't think I was a good mom. I didn't think I was a pretty person. Like I didn't like anything about myself in any shape, way, or form. I felt like a complete failure because I let all the things that I couldn't do, or that I thought I couldn't do or wasn't worthy of, turn me to drinking, which made it so much worse. But I could have, I could have lost I could have lost a lot of shit.
Yeah,
But
but
thankfully,
self-destruction is just
yeah,
as bad as losing
yes, it was
physical.
more so of me and, destroying myself. And I honestly, I think that might have been my goal, was to destroy myself, because there have been times in that darkest part of my addiction. Like I think I shared a little bit on the last episode we did about my journal and how I have my notes that I would write my kid or to myself saying like, I'm sorry, you deserve better. I'd take my meds and I'd still wake up thinking that I was literally trying to not be here the next morning. So I keep that as a reminder, but like I really did. Like I got so self-destructive that I thought that I got in such a psychosis. I thought that life would be better without me. Like I was so convinced that I didn't need to be here.
Oh.
It's crazy how you get to that point and you don't see it until you're out of it.
Yeah.
And then now you look back and I'm like, the hell? I'm a pretty damn good person, and I like myself a little bit, Like, I actually like myself a lot.
You're a great mom, a great aunt. I see you always with the little kids.
Yes, I love my kids. Like Bentley is my only kid, but my nieces and my nephews, like they are my own. Like I love my family. I'm a very big family person, and yeah, I mean it could have went a different direction. It could have went, I could be sitting in jail for manslaughter from the DUIs. Like I would drink and drive, and that was my biggest high risk decision, is I'd get behind the wheel, which is insane.
Right. So did you do rehab?
No, I never went to rehab. Oh, sorry guys.
Okay.
That just went off. I don't know if he wants to pause that. See if I can get that fixed. Or we'll just turn. Sorry, guys. Y'all get to
No, it's all good.
enjoy a new lighting for the podcast here.
Mhm.
This is about probably good we're gonna get. So life
Yeah.
happens, right? Little things happen.
So you didn't do rehab, but did you?
No, I didn't do rehab. And honestly, right before I had that moment of like, something's got to change. And it was even before the DUIs. Like I said, the year before last, I tried going sober on my own before getting the third DUI, and it didn't work. It was the night that I left in the middle of the night, and Bentley was like, "Oh, I hate you." Like, I literally left in the middle of the night. And the week before I did that and had that psychotic break and moment, I was calling my health insurance, begging them to send me to rehab. I'm like, where can I go? I can't. Are you a harm to yourself? And I'm like, well, no, but I can't stop drinking. I need help.
Right.
And it was so hard. Like, they would not really help me, which is crazy. I'm just like, I think at that moment, I deep down in my drunkenness realized something's got to give. Like, some shit's wrong with me. I need help. And I probably would have went if it would have worked out. Why it didn't work out that way, I don't know. God had other plans. But that's when, after, like I said, that week after that, I went MIA, drove 4 hours away from where I live to Savannah, drunk off my ass.
Oh, you must have been psycho.
Girl, I went from LaGrange all the way through Macon, through Dublin, through all these towns to get down to Savannah, 4 hours away.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so after that, when I came back home, it was like, my husband at the time was very like, we can get you help if you need help. And I was like, I think I just need to get my mental health in order. I just need to lose weight and stop drinking. So I set a goal for 4 months. But yeah, no, those being in the active addiction, like it's just such a crazy place. And a lot of us think that we're in that place alone, which is why I do love that you and I both live out loud. Yeah. We live out loud about recovery, because we tend to make ourselves think that no one understands. No one can feel the way I do. You know, we try to isolate ourselves in our situations, when in all reality, we're all on the same path. We're just struggling with different things or different substances.
Right. Like, TT has been such a community for that, for Recovering Out Loud, for letting people know that we are not alone. Right. And it's okay to not, like, a lot of times mental health and addiction kind of go like dual together.
Right. Right.
And like, I know that, like, when my mental health was horrible, that's when I would struggle the most on my addiction.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Do you think physically, like, so I was an IV user, and I shared with somebody that I trusted, and I ended up catching hepatitis C.
Oh, damn.
In my blood. Thank God that when I got it at the very end of my addiction. So when I went into recovery, I got into the doctor, and I've been in remission from Hep C for 3 years.
Amen. Let's go.
But do you have like any health issues? Or
I started to have kidney issues, and it was just for a routine doctor's appointment. I think I went to go fill the anxiety meds that I'd been on for years. That didn't work. But I was afraid to say they weren't working. Right. But they did like a yearly blood work, and like my liver and kidney, all those numbers were like way high. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know why, like, I'm working out in the gym. I mean, I was still working out almost every day, but Lord, I was still drinking that bottle, I was still in the bottle. And they had to do like ultrasound and stuff like that. And they said it was a fatty liver. I honestly deep down knew, but I didn't share with them how much I drank. So of course they're like, well, if you're not drinking that much, then okay, it has to be this. I knew how much I was drinking. I knew that it was from the alcohol. So, and sadly enough, at that time, it did not stop it. It didn't stop it. That wasn't even the darkest of my addiction days, but it started to affect my health. And that's what they like when I left that night. And then that year that I tried to get back in control of my consumption, I really hyper focused on my weight and my health. And that's where I started the journey of losing weight. the year before, what, 2023. Yeah, January 2023 is when I started. And through that and feeling better, I stopped drinking as much. But when I drank, it went right back to the same amount. It was like as soon as I hit that first drink, it was go time. Like most people will drink and they will get tired, they get sleepy. Oh no, girl, that stuff hits my mouth and it's like, let's go, time to take on the world. So I noticed it affecting my health a lot. And so after that DUI, I had already kind of switched the mindset and tried to focus on my health, but that was really key for me, getting that DUI to really push me into focusing on my health and getting better. I mean, I just turned 35. I'm like, I'm still, I feel old, but I'm not, you know, I'm like, I still have my whole life ahead of me. So I've really been able to just really focus on being healthy mentally and physically. And it's been amazing.
Okay, so you said you've struggled with your mental health. So
Yes.
have you been diagnosed, or you do
Depression
do you
and
want, can we
anxiety.
talk about that? Or
Yeah,
is that,
absolutely. Absolutely. Because that was honestly, being in this DUI court program, it has been such an amazing thing for me because it's forcing me to dig deep and figure out where all that stemmed from. And it has helped me go back to, as far as back as childhood, where my insecurities and things were, or like being able to sit down and pinpoint, man, I think I might have had something wrong then. Had it been more acceptable to say something is wrong and I don't feel right, and not such a frowned upon stigma, I might have had.
That was always a stigma until recently.
Yeah, I'm like, I knew.
Don't even believe in it.
Yeah, like I said, grew up a Baptist pastor's kid. Like, and my parents and I are close. They're my closest friends now. It wasn't that way, you know, growing up or in my earlier adult years. But now they're like my best friends. We talk about everything, and they look at me and they're like, "I'm proud of you and I love you." We don't always see eye to eye, but they're my biggest supporters. But going back, like, I have some family members that are very chemically unbalanced, and they would always look at me and say, like, my dad, not to you know, say this out there and put this in the world, that my dad said something that hurt my feelings, but this is just honest reality, and I'm not trying to make him look bad for any reason. But he said he used to call me by a certain person's name, like, you're acting like so and so, and it made me feel like, but you talk so badly about them and how they're so unstable and all these negative things. So I didn't think I could say, hey, I kind of feel that way, because then you're going to label me as that, and then I'm screwed, and then I'm broken. And, you know, it was this whole stigma on mental health. So I really feel like, had I been able to say, like, hey, something's not right, I might have gotten help sooner. You know, I don't know. I think it was about 18 when I finally got on, no, it was 19. I was 19 when I finally got on anxiety meds. And I never really felt like it made a big difference. My highs were always really high and my lows were always really low. I mean, honestly, I questioned if I was bipolar a lot, because it was just constant switch.
Up and down.
Like manic depression. Yeah. I was very manic at times.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't sleep, I'd drink, and I'd stay up 2 days, 3 days painting the house. You know, just very manic, just crazy, off the wall. Right. But I really do believe, through the recovery and what I'm learning in the MRT therapy, I really do believe that my mental illness and the depression was the cause of why I wanted to run away and why I wanted to drown myself, because it was such a me internal, I don't know, it was just a depression thing. It wasn't like, you know, something super traumatic happened and I was escaping from. I was literally escaping from myself and my mind. My mind would not stop unless I drank.
Right. So what? Okay, so I'm gonna kind of backtrack because I'm ADD, guys. You know, we're talking about all of active addiction here. But like, I'm trying to like come back to like remember stuff and like. But anyway, so my thing is, what was the like? Okay, so when I lost my house. When I started losing my job, like this all happened like a 4-month time. Then I started mixing like everything, and like I didn't care anymore. So it was the loss of my past life
Mhm.
and not knowing who I was going to be without the kid's dad, who
Yeah.
I was going to be without this, surgical nurse job, who I was going to be as a mother, who was I going to be in the community. I felt like I was a nobody anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I just didn't care anymore. I just
Yeah.
I was drinking, I was smoking, I was bit popping, I was doing it all, and dancing on top of it.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't know who I was. My thing, what was your point where it was just fuck it? Sorry, excuse my language.
No, you know, no.
Yeah, I know everything leads up to it, but what was just like everyone wakes up, or not like that we wake up one day, but like one day it's just like
I think over time of the self-disappointment, and I really feel like the miscarriages that I had really kind of set the tone in my mind. It was like that last little push that my mind needed to be able to look at myself and be like, you're a complete not worth anything. Your body can't do what it's supposed to. I already knew I struggled with other things of feeling unmoist, but like that was like the final emotional and mental push for me, those losses, to be like, fuck it.
Right. So you had losses with your husband?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With my son's father.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My son's father, we lost 4, right around 12 weeks. But now
that's when they know.
Back, I am so thankful. God had a really much bigger plan than I realized, and I couldn't see past that. I couldn't see past the fact. And then I felt all this shame and guilt because I have a son, and I'm like, why can't I just be thankful that I have a living child now? A lot of people don't even get that opportunity to have their one. But I could not escape the fact that I felt so broken and so not a woman. Right. And it just enhanced all of the insecurities of no self-love and unworthiness that I felt. Honestly, it was just, it just pushed me.
That's the biggest thing with us addicts. I think we just feel broken and we just feel
it's like you don't really fit anywhere. Like, it's like I've shared before, I was in this little fishbowl of not, we weren't allowed to make mistakes, and we are being born of, into the ministry. You're put on this pedestal that you didn't ask for. And so it all just stemmed from that. So on top of all of that, it was like, where is my place? Well, I never even had a purpose. Like I've never desired to do a certain type of career. I'd get into things and I'd be like really good at it. Then I would fall like that cycle of like, well, now I'm tired of this. There's no excitement in this anymore. I want to do something different. And it was just like this endless cycle of unhappiness. It ate me alive. I allowed that to just take over everything. And it just put me, like I said, I drank myself into such a psychosis that I didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. Did you, during your activity, did you start putting it in water bottles? Like, was there a point where you started hiding it? I mean, obviously everyone knew that you were drinking and that.
Unfortunately.
You hear those drinking stories of alcohol. Yeah. And they're like putting
that is one thing about me. That is one thing about me. I never hid it.
Okay.
I never felt like I had to hide it, because what you see is what you get. And I am that way in recovery as well. And I'm that kind of person. When you meet me, like, I'm not going to hide shit, because I grew up. So like, you have to be this way. Like, I'm going full-fledged or not at all. So, I mean, yeah, I would put it in water bottles and carry it with me wherever I was going, but I would make it known, like, I'm drinking. Like, I'm not, I never hid it in a way. I would hide. I wouldn't be 100% honest about how much I had drank at times. Okay. But when I drank, it wasn't a secret. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious because you hear those stories.
Yeah. And like I said, it was on that path.
Were you doing it on the jobs? You were doing it everywhere.
Well, I'd leave my work and I'd go to the place at lunch and I'd have drinks and I'd come back and go to work.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people do
just that. Because I wanted to, not because I felt like, ooh, I need to drink. I just like, I'm going to have some drinks.
Right. Okay. Now, I heard you talking about
MRT therapy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what is that?
So I didn't know what that was either until I got into the DUI court and the accountability court, which it is for phase 2 of my accountability court. It is like, it's a type of therapy that's for like repeat offenders or for honestly for criminals. It's like trying to dig into why are you the way that you are, getting down to the core of who you are. And girl, I tell you what, when I read the first like 10 pages, I was like, damn. Where has this been? Where has this been? Like, this is a slap in the face. Like, this is me. How they know me in this book? Like, what have you been? Do you have a camera on me? Like, how did you write this? So, it's just it digs deep to why do you feel the way that you feel,
Right.
and being able to sit in that feeling and not react like we've always react, and not running from it. So,
Or use or numb it.
Yes, or
Or
yeah,
just
use or
there.
numb. Right. Yeah,
So you said you got DUIs. Real quick, did you ever? You said you didn't go to jail, right? You always.
I went, but I
but you
didn't
never
stay.
did, like time or anything, right? You didn't have to
No,
do
I
time.
only had to do. Let's see. I was in the first one was just the hold and cell. Back in 2013, I got out after 12 hours. Didn't have to go back and serve any time. 2020s, I went in and stayed for about 48 hours. Got put in the back. Got out. Had to go back in for 48 hours just to serve the time allowed. And then
Right.
this last one was in for about 3, almost 4 days, and then I had to go back and do 14 hours. So I've been back in the population, but it wasn't an extended
Right.
stay.
Yeah, extended stay.
I
did it. Once in those county jails are not fun, girl.
no,
Not fun,
I was facing 6 months. And
Oh, they
so,
were gonna. Yeah.
yeah, my plea deal was 6 months in county.
Okay, so is that your plea deal? So you're on probation currently, right? Because you're
I'll
still
be on probation
you're still in
for
your first
2
year.
years. Yeah. So this year in June will be 1 year, and then 2026 June is the second year. And so that's where I was able to apply to the DUI court and the accountability program. And that kept me from, now it doesn't keep you all the time from going to jail. I mean, they can still look at me and say, you still have time to serve. But instead of just going and sitting in jail, the program has therapy group. You're going to AAs. You have accountability. And I think I told them at one of my court check-ins, I wish that this was more accessible for people like us, where it wasn't like you only get this with DUI court, because it is such an amazing like outpatient program.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like, it has been life-changing.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm like, and maybe
inpatient always works anyway.
Right. And I'm like, maybe that's, something that God's put on my heart. Who knows, in the next 10 years, 5 years, that maybe I can be a part of and help someone do some type of outpatient program here in my city, because we don't have one.
Right. No, that would be amazing.
So the opportunities are endless, girl.
Yes, they are. Especially now with technology and social media. In so many different ways. Another, oh my God, I had my question ready, but then I just forgot it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you didn't do jail. You didn't, okay. I forgot now. Oh, wait.
The worst case said, good.
Yeah, I don't know if it was more of a statement, but I did probation too, and I had a very strict probation, and if I didn't complete, I was going to have to do 8 years in prison.
Yeah.
And I completed 26 days before my dad passed away.
Oh, damn.
So my dad took care of my kids, and you said your parents were a big supporter. So this is my dad, I gave temporary custody of my kids, and he took them in, and then I got better and I got them back right away. Like, I got them back in, I think I was only 2 months into my recovery, and then I got them back, and then they've been with me ever since. But I completed probation 26 days. So my dad got to see 2 years of me being in recovery, which was super amazing. And he got to see me complete probation. But you'll get there, girl.
We will. And you know what? That is such an amazing story, because like, that is the best gift you could have given your dad. The best gift in life that your dad could have ever gotten from you was seeing you recover and getting your kids back.
Yeah,
It's
I got
amazing.
to be with my dad when he passed, so
Yeah, it's
it was
amazing.
really beautiful. And not that death's always beautiful, but that death, if you had to talk about death being beautiful, that
Yes.
was a really
Yeah.
beautiful. He didn't suffer at all. I mean, he was
Yeah.
one time. Anyway, Amber, I really appreciate you being on our Joe the Bull podcast, and I have a huge announcement. I'm going to still be a part of Joe the Bull podcast, but I'm going to break off and start a recovery podcast, guys.
Let's go! Woo!
I'm wondering if you would like to be my co-host on the show.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's
Let's do it.
go. Yes, so we are going to do Road to Recovery podcast. To be announced when our schedule we have to coordinate. But since she just said yes, I'm super excited.
Woo!
It's gonna be Joe's gonna be the producer. You know, we're still gonna be part of the AGT network. I'm still gonna be a part of Joe the Bull podcast. But we're gonna break off probably a little bit of the more of the recovery on the recovery
Yes.
podcast, which it will be great. Amber is a recovering alcoholic and I'm a recovering drug addict. So I think that with us
Both
combined,
sides of this
we
oven.
have
We
lots
get
of
both
different-
sides.
yeah, so we'll be talking about triggers. We'll be interviewing other people. So also, if you guys have any ideas for the Joe the Bull, we would
Yes.
like you, if you could email us at the Joe the Bull podcast at gmail.com. We're also streaming on all streaming apps like Spotify, Amazon Music. We're, of course, on YouTube. So please make sure if you have any suggestions, ideas, topics, want to be interviewed, have someone that should be interviewed, please email us. Give us all your ideas.
Yes, let's go.
And Amber, again, thank you so much for being a part of the Joe. It's been a great journey seeing your
Yes,
road to
thank
recovery.
you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank
and
you.
congrats
Proud
on
of you
getting
too.
sober.
Let's do it. We got
Let's
this.
do this, guys. So we love you. And Carl.